In response to the lack of affordable housing, in 1969, 40B became law in Massachusetts. Under 40B, developers are able to bypass zoning restrictions in cities and towns which has less than 10% of their houses as affordable. Now, building affordable housing may sound as a noble thing, but it's normally the cause of contentious debates and public outcry. At the moment, the town of Wareham is under negotiations with Dakota Partners, a Waltham-based company, for building 40B housing proposed in Cranberry Highway, Woodland Cove. Joining me in the studio is our own selectman, Slavin, here to discuss how this project is going to impact our community. Welcome, Mr. Slavin.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So I think we should start by defining what affordable housing is.
Well, DHCD basically, in their program, explains what's affordable. And it has to do with the income of the person, the region you're in, etc. All these come into formulation. So in Wareham, of course, we're in the Boston market rate, which I think was, and I'm not sure, I'm still trying to figure out whether or not when the federal government went and did the voting districts, it could be as far back as when Barney Frank was in, because he had like from a piece of Boston down through Newton all the way down to here. And maybe everybody in that group then became in that particular location. So what happens is, because of the way it's set up, Wareham is extremely attractive for a 40B developer because our land is low in value compared to some other places. Taxes, everything else actually are lower on average than the surrounding towns.
Now, how come our land is low in value? Can't we raise our value?
No, because we don't own the land. People own the land and they have it, and the land in Wareham has less value than, say, Marion. If you were to take an acre of land in Marion and an acre of land in Wareham, whether it's on the water, wherever it is, if it's same land, it's less expensive in Wareham. Mm-hmm. And it's just how it works. I mean, if you were to take like AD Makepeace did a recent development on the other side of Wareham in Plymouth, well, those houses in Plymouth, same house, same piece of land, same region really, is selling for $100,000 more in Plymouth than it would sell in Wareham.
Just because our land is cheaper and we cannot do anything?
And the value of the town, the perceived value of one town versus the other, yeah.
Okay.
And we have no control over that. So it makes it easy to come in. We have a lot of open space. You know, cranberry developers are selling land off because the cranberry industry is kind of tough right now. You have farmland, whatever, and it's there. And it's fairly easy to do. It's a process that favors the developers, the builders. I think initially when I went in, had a semi-good reason that most of the affordable housing was in the cities. Mm-hmm. And it kind of forced the affordable housing into the local towns outside the cities. But like everything else, like Proposition 2.5, et cetera, it's run its course and now is not really equitable anymore from what it is. As an example, you have the town of Brookline, very, very wealthy town. They have 11, 40B projects in the town. So you can't say that they're only coming into certain areas. But again, they build places where it's easy to get it done, get through, and be profitable. They're limited to like a 20% profit margin. Mm-hmm. But what happens is with the 40B projects, and I'm sure it's going to happen here because I've seen it already, normally someone comes and gets the project, has a tendency to sell the project well before it's completed to another person, sell the land, et cetera, and then maybe sell it again. And they can get credits all the way through as they go along. So it's basically advantageous to the builders to do a 40B. It's a guaranteed profit margin, and the state controls it. They get credits, and those credits they sell or use.
So with 40B housing, and when you're a town that has less than 10% that is required, you do not have a lot of wiggle room in it. You cannot deny the project. So what can we do?
Well, basically what happens is, which is what's happening right now, you sit there and where you do have certain conditions you can put in, you try and make it, you can't really, you're not allowed to make it purposely so difficult they can't have it, because the state will come back, DHCD, CHAPA, even the judge will come back and rule against you. And you're spinning your wheels, and you're spending time with legal fees that you're not going to win overall. I mean, the possibilities is to downsize the project.
And which you did from 174 units, so we're now 150.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not happy with the number, but that's where it went down to. As an example, 815 Main Street, which was a few years back, they came in, I think, at 98 units, and we were able to break that down to 49 units.
That's a big margin.
That was 50%.
Is that what you're expecting at this particular project here?
We were kind of hoping to get down under 100 units. That's what the Board of Selectmen was kind of looking for.
Now, my understanding is if this project passes with 150 units, it's going to bump our percentage from 7.7% to 9.7%, leaving us with only 3%. Okay, so we can completely be free for some time, right?
No.
So why would you want to lower that number even further?
Well, the problem is that, we could be at 9.7, we could even be at 10. When you put a 40B project in, you normally get a 1-year reprieve after you've put a project in before someone can come back to your town with another one. That's just the way the rules are. But say if we were at 10.1% now, when this project's all said and done. Because remember, only 25% of those units are affordable. The rest of them are apartments and stuff, and I guess the whole project gets counted. Because if it didn't work that way, you'd have 25% as affordable and 75% not affordable, which means you'd even skew it, so when you get done, you'd be under 7.7. So you get close to 10, but because the region we're in is well under 10% overall, everybody in that region basically is susceptible. If they're at 10% and say their neighbors are 5%, you can still go into the place that has 10% and put a 40B in.
And that's another thing. There is, it showed here that in 2010, Bourne had 6.9%, Minneborough 5.7%, Carver 3.2%, Plymouth 3.1%.
And I think Marion is extremely low too. They just recently have.
So these are all towns that are very close to us. These are our neighbors. So you're telling us their luck of having affordable housing in their towns affects us.
Of course.
Because we are linked to them. So no matter what we do, we are always going to be here.
That's correct. And because their land is more expensive, Wareham is more attractive for someone to come in.
Okay, I do not own a property in this town, but this news is really hard to swallow. I could only imagine for a person who's really invested and has a property in this town. There must be something we can do. Come on.
Well, they're supposed to have gone back in and revamped 40B. It's really difficult because there's politics involved here. There's groups basically that lobby, for their industry. So obviously the building industry lobbies very hard, so nothing happens to 40B because it's very profitable and advantageous to a builder.
Now, 40B was supposed to increase the affordable housing. It was supposed to get people off from the streets. They're supposed to give some breathing room to families who cannot keep up with the raising rents in regular housing. But if Wareham is part of the Boston market, but our economy does not reflect that of Boston, I do not see how this is helpful to us at all.
It isn't helpful to the town because at the end of the day, you have to look at what kind of revenue are you going to get from this complex. And again, it's apartments, it's not like homes, versus the expenses for education. I believe Wareham's cost per student is something like $14,000 a student. If you had one child in every one of those apartments, as an example, going to the Wareham school system, it would be a huge negative cash loss to the town cash-wise. Because you took how much money is coming in for taxes and everything else versus how much is going out, it would be negative. So therefore, it's not worthwhile. The other issue you have to look at is what are the examples we have, and I'm not picking on Union Pond, but it's a fairly new one recently. You have to look at how many police calls go in there and all the other things happening in these complexes. Sometimes what happens is you end up getting Section 8 apartment rentals, and normally, unfortunately, and I'm not saying all the time, but Section 8 causes problems as well. And these are things that you have to look at, and you really have no control. And not only that is everybody thinks, well, 150 units, whatever it's going to be, 150 Wareham residents going to get those apartments. It's not the case.
No, it can be from anybody.
Well, it's not it can be anybody, but say if they say they'll give Wareham residents first choice, which they can, but if they don't meet the income
Requirements,
guidelines
yeah.
and everything else, then they can't do it. And the history has been that we have not had a lot of Wareham residents meet the numbers.
Okay. Now, you mentioned about the increased population, how this is going to be detrimental to our schools, and there's some other...
Could be, depending on how many, because we don't really know how many numbers there are.
Okay. Now, schools are about to open next week.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And this is going to be a different school year. We have Minot Forest
Yeah.
closed. Students are going to be distributed among the three remaining schools, the Wareham Middle School, Dickens Elementary, and the Wareham High School.
Yep.
This is a big problem. We do not know how many students are going to come in. And so now we're talking about building another new elementary school. If we do not know, and if this is the way of life in this town,
You can't plan.
how can we fix this? And how can we plan?
You can't really plan because the developer obviously is going to come in, do their studies, and try and skew it to only be like, 50, 70, 80 students. Other people that are not for the project are saying there could be 300 students. Everybody has a formula.
Now, even if it's 50 or 70 students and every other year we have another proposal, you understand that number increases. So if it's 300 now or 50 now and every other year, it's still, we are going to end up with that number that, okay, we cannot deal with this.
Yeah.
Now we have to demolish this school and build another one.
Well, we have a situation where we had, 2 elementary schools built in the 60s. You can blame anybody you want. The bottom line is we didn't do a really good job maintaining the schools. If you look at Upper Cape, which is a tech school, and look at the condition of the school, they're in great shape. But the advantage is they basically have cheap labor called the students who go in there constantly and fix and build things, because that's the trade they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it, their school is not anywhere near as old as our 2 elementary schools, but they have that big advantage.
Should we take that lesson? Should we start teaching kids
We,
how
ne-
to fix
we,
things?
we never should have given away and stopped doing that particular type of trade education. In my opinion only, it's a major mistake because in our area here, we have a lot of people that are in the trades. They can't afford to live on the Cape, which almost nobody can anymore. So people live in the Wareham area and around here and then physically work on the Cape in the trades. And a lot of their children go into the trades. And where do they want to go? Is Upper Cape, obviously. Wareham should have always kept the trade school.
Okay. So last night, the Dakota partners met with the zoning
Oh,
board.
yeah, I was there.
Oh, so tell us. You said no, that was good. Tell us what went on there.
It's really frustrating, because I can't really sit there and say that I hate the lawyer that represents them. I do, but he's doing his job. It's what he gets paid for. And the answers are, well, we don't have to do this, or we could do this, but we really don't have to again, or it's not necessary, whatever else. And they're really building a facility that is not really geared to the residents that are going to live there. They're giving them the minimal amount of amenities they can. Because again, at the end of the day, they're trying to build it for the least amount of money they can.
And you guys are not trying to just be hard on them. These are things that...
Well, because to me this is not a friendly 40B. Mm-hmm. This is an adversarial 40B.
But do 40B need to be friendly?
It's a lot easier. Okay. I mean, in life, love and hate take the same amount of effort. One's worthwhile, the other one's a waste of time. I'm not saying which is which. So basically what you have is, we're supposed to take each department and have input and have concerns of doing the best. At the end of the day, when any project is done in the town, it's the requirement of the boards, selectmen, sewer commissioners, all the elected officials, everybody, to make sure we get the best possible project for the town and for the people that are going to have to live in that project.
Now, you spoke about the sewage commissioner. This is another department that did stress that we are not ready for this project. The population increase may be detrimental to our facility. And yesterday I read that that's no longer the case. Why a change of opinion?
I went out on a limb a little bit, and I got a couple people in the sewer department mad at me because I sent out a note to the sewer commissioners asking basically what's going on. I think I used the abbreviation of WTF.
You?
Yeah.
Not you.
Oh yeah, I did. Because I asked one of the sewer commissioners, who happens to be fairly close, did you guys have a vote on this? And the answer was no. They had discussed it with the with the director of the sewer department, some of the things they were asking for, but it really wasn't finalized. I thought they would vote on it, which they really hadn't yet. There's a study that the developer had to pay $9,000, I think, to see if the facility could handle it or not. I guess it's come back saying it has, but yet the sewer commissioners themselves haven't seen the report. But last night, Mr. Campiner answered questions. There was some question about the type of grinder pumps, and I guess the big issue really was the backup. When you have a grinder pump, if you lose power, say we have a real bad storm, which we have more and more lately,
yes.
and say, God forbid, you have power out for a week, which is possible these days now. That means all the sewer in those facilities, those 150 units, is backing up and not going anywhere.
Yes.
So if you don't have generators for backup, then that thing all sits in. It's a real problem, serious health problem, etc. So they were back and forth about how they would do generators and how the backup system would work. Mr. Rowley, who's the engineer for the town, was not happy with what was going on and actually was disagreeing quite vociferously about the whole thing. So these are things which are done during the hearing. The hearing's open, so you have input. When the hearing's closed, there's no more input. Then the small detail stuff, the ZBA will work out with the developer. I did make a comment last night about 2/3 of the way through, and I asked that the hearing not be closed because the newest version of their plans had come to basically the town, I think on a Monday late, and the boards got it on Tuesday. So therefore, there was no way for any of these boards to meet, look over the plans, and then make comments back. And see, when you close a hearing, there's no more comments.
No more comments, yeah.
So they did postpone it to the 12th of September, and most likely the hearing will probably be closed, and then they'll go there.
Now, for Mr. Computer to say that, yes, we can handle.
Because the report that came back, my understanding, it says we can handle it.
So this to me sounds as if the Dakota partners have been given a green light. We have no more excuses.
No. As far as the sewer, no. The other piece, of course, is onset water, and onset water last night, except for where the location of the monitoring wells would be, they also signed off.
Now, I know that we cannot say where we want this project to be. That's part of 40B. That if you're not at 10%, you lose that freedom to say. Well,
even if you're at more than 10%, I don't think we have the ability to tell a developer where they can put it on. If the project basically meets the basic zoning requirements of an area that says you can build a project there, then you can build a project there. The only thing which is going off subject that we can do, and hopefully we're going to get to it, is do a solar bylaw change to look at the town and actually pick areas which has no housing or anything around, and you can put a solar field to stop like what happened on Toby Road, in particular, where the Eversource came in and as a utility, it's like a 40B. They bypass a whole bunch of rules and regulations, just bang, put it in there.
Okay.
So anybody trying to put a solar project in Wareham right now is going to have a very hard time because of the adversity to that particular project. They went in with a lot of people being upset, all the trees being cleared out and everything else. So, but to get back to 40B, if it fits
now, is there
in, that's it.
Best place to put 40B housing?
Not really.
Okay.
Because it doesn't matter where it goes. It just matters how many units it's going to be. That's the controlling point. How big's the project? If you get a 174 unit project like originally planned, for a town of Wareham size, that's a lot to handle.
Okay.
And we can't say you can have a 40B project can only be 50 units.
No, we do not have that.
No.
And nor will we ever have that, because even if the rest of our towns, our neighboring towns, get to their 10%, still, if somebody, as you mentioned, builds something that is not 40B or affordable housing,
it could change
it changes the percentage.
Yeah, if it changes that ratio, then you're back at it again.
Now, can we control then things that are not, or development that is not affordable housing?
I mean, you can. I think there's a couple times where some towns, because of different issues, could be sewer, could be water, whatever, had a building moratorium where they stopped allowing new building. I don't think in Wareham we can do that because, you have the Plymouth Carver Aquifer. We have plenty of water, and people can build wells, and you can also do septic systems.
Yeah, you have served in the Board of Selectmen for 7 years now.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that for 7 years, and I'm sure you'll continue to do so. I don't see you retiring at any particular time?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But what do you think, where do you think we went wrong? In this stage where we cannot do anything right, we might as well just stop fighting, because you cannot fight this.
Well, it's not that. It's, as a town, as a single unit town, we don't have any leverage because you don't have enough strength as a single. So what I do on my end, and what I've been doing, before as a selectman, the other committees and stuff I've been on for a while, I've always tried to work regionally. I've always tried to basically build relationships with other people in different towns at the town level, also at the, what I'll call it, regional level in the state, and also at the state level, and try and work. So we try and change something. It's not just Wareham. It's Wareham and maybe 5 or 6 other towns, or maybe 10 or 15 towns coming together. Because as a single unit, we don't have any leverage. Nobody does.
Okay, so we need to include other towns to help us in this.
Yeah, you do. Remember, there's 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. Our issue may not be an issue for 350 of the others.
No, and that's the thing. And also, why should they care about us?
As an example, again, off subject slightly, but again, to do with housing, because the governor and lieutenant governor have made it a real priority to do affordable housing, and they've made a major commitment to having it happen. And really to the detriment of the cities and towns. There's a new zoning bylaw that they're trying to work on, which would even take more of controls away from us. But that's a different point, is that we have mobile homes, modular homes.
And we are trying to make them be counted under for affordable housing, but it's something that I do not see it happening. Not to be negative, but I hear a lot of restrictions to why that cannot happen.
Well, the simple reason is DHCD does not list a mobile home as affordable. So it's not in their listing what's considered affordable. So they would have to change that, and they've basically not been amenable to do that. The other piece is they say, well, we don't know what the income level is of the people living in those homes per se. Therefore, because of that, we don't have a way to say whether it really fits into the affordable designation. The DOR, which is Department of Revenue, was required, I think, at the end of the Patrick administration and to Baker's to do an actual study to come back with revenue numbers for people living in mobile homes. Initially, it was resisted by, it was a mobile home organization. It wasn't the park owners, it was the actual people living in the homes. That organization, because it's confusing, the two almost have the same name, fought not to have that happen. They didn't want to give out their personal information. So they had a difficulty getting the information. They finally did a study, but the study didn't really come out to help support what we were trying to do. So they're supposed to go back and do it again. So that's one reason why we haven't been able to do it. We have also, our representative wants all the homes 100% counted as affordable. Our state senator is willing to do something, but at 50%. Personally, I'd take anything at this point. Okay. Because it really doesn't matter, because Wareham has approximately 1,100 mobile homes. Carver has 900. We represent, I'm going to say 19% of all the mobile homes in Massachusetts between the two towns. So for us, it's extremely important. We have more than 10% of affordable housing, because the majority of those mobile homes would all be classified as affordable.
Absolutely, and I imagine when the mobile homes started, Wareham, Marion, Bourne, these are all mostly were summer communities, summer towns. They come and they go. So their impact, yes, they had an impact, but wasn't that much. But now they come and they stay.
Well, it's a home.
It's home for them, so they're not going anywhere. They're using the resources. They're going to our schools. They're using our sewage, our water, police, and so forth. And yet, we do not count them, or they do not count.
Yeah, and we
need them to count.
Yeah, and we have a lot of senior citizens that need services that live there too. It affects everything. I mean, if you look at like Swift's Beach, it was built out as a summer community. Onset was a summer community. Those homes weren't year-round homes, and their postage size lots. They're 5,000 acres and 5,000 square feet or smaller. So, and you go into Onset and they complain about the parking issue. Well, when they developed Onset, you have this postage lot, and you had a horse and a carriage originally. Didn't have a car. And now you may have some of these homes where people have they've taken their driveway and made it part of their house, and they park the car in front, but they don't have one car.
They have multiple. 3,
4. So of course there's no parking. And you try and fix it, and then you fight with it. But then we have, and in Onset in particular, it's the Best Buy probably on Cape Cod, period. You've got one of the nicest beaches anywhere. You've got some nice restaurants if you want to spend money, which a lot of them don't. They usually bring their food, like I refer to them as seagulls, but I won't get into that. I think the word is they come and eat and then leave.
Oh my goodness.
I think that's the designation. You can cut that out if you want. I don't care. But the bottom line is that you have people come and they'll park anywhere they can. So you got to park, on the pier. Well, the pier has, basically you have to pay. So then the onset residents get all upset, which I can understand because they come home, they can't park.
Yeah.
So we restricted how the parking goes, and that's just a constant battle. Okay. It's really frustrating.
So we are trying to bring more revenues in this town. We are trying to, with the Tremont Nail, the proposal of a marijuana manufacturing there. Yeah. We are really trying. Would you say this is the route that we need to invest more, or where else can we invest so we're not, if not to be in the same level, let's say like Marion, Rochester, but to really upgrade our reputation?
I'm going to give you an answer you're not going to be expecting. Everybody says it's important to get the schools up to a certain level, which will help attract people. There's no question that when someone comes in, especially a young family looking at a house, when you talk to a real estate broker, they have ratings for every single city in town for the school system. And if you have a low rating, you're at a real disadvantage. But I'm putting that aside because I don't think that's going to solve our problem. Our problem is that Wareham is basically, if you take the population of Wareham and then take the population of, say, Brockton or New Bedford, take the percentages, and then look at the number of police calls our police department does and everything else, looks at the Board of Health and the issues we have, looks at the fire department with the calls they have. Then you go and look at the special services to see how much they're doing and how badly they're so overloaded they can't even begin to cover what they have to. These are the areas that we need to fix, get the proper amount of staff in, so we can sit there and actually clean up everything to the point of that people come here because not only they feel safe, but everything's being done right. Right now, people are doing things whatever they want half the time.
Mm-hmm. And that requires money, and that's the thing. We're trying to get the money.
And that requires money. I mean, right now, the police department, they need to hire at least 10 more officers. I mean, you see all these new arrests and everything else, but they want to become proactive. In order to be proactive, they need more people to help them. They need more assets. I met with John Walczak, with the Bernie Pigeon, from the chairman of the finance committee, to sit and talk to him about what they need and stuff. And the answer is, we agree with you, but we don't know where to get it from right now. Because if we take it from schools, that's not going to work well.
We have taken enough from the schools, and schools actually need more.
Yeah, I mean, wherever you take it from, everybody is running at
completely took it from the elders in this community.
Well, yeah, we did, and we took it from the library, but we had a plan for the library at least because we were told what was going to happen anyways. So we had a 3.5, 4-year plan, and thankfully Mike Carlosi, who's unfortunately left to go to East Providence, worked with the town administrator, and the program has basically got exactly what had to happen, and they'll be probably certified in November. So we need to find ways to bring in light industry and just more income. When you bring in a couple stores and stuff like Wareham Crossing and some of the other stuff, it doesn't generate a lot of money overall. And it takes 2-3 years before you see that income anyways. But we need to basically fix the core. When the police chief tells me, I don't want to be known anymore as the place for young kids to go to so they can buy liquor, and that was a comment made. I mean, that's a sad situation. We know we have drug issues. The whole Cape has drug issues, never mind Wareham. And it's a problem. You need to fix all these things up. You need to fix up inspectional services so people aren't running illegal businesses, doing things, I think it was today there's someone living in a trailer next to one of our businesses because an employee's working at the place and he brought a trailer from New Bedford over to live in next to the place. You can't do that. But they do it.
It seems like, there's a leeway in this community, and they really do not care about the guidelines. And
the community really has to sit there and decide, does the community really want to upgrade itself and change things? Because we can do whatever we can try, but at the end of the day, if we don't have the assistance of everybody around us, it doesn't work. I always tell people, the problem is not me, the problem isn't you, the problem is when you look in the mirror. That's the problem. It's as simple as that. if people don't want to stand up and do something, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
You know, there's a saying too, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink.
Absolutely.
So we're trying. You know, it's not me complaining or crying or anything else.
Well, at least you're giving us the raw truth.
It's not even the rush. It's just, you know, if people want to change, then you've got to step up and help do it. I mean, we have all kinds of openings in different boards, committees, commissions. It's a thankless job, and I'm not going to tell you anything else but that. You go home at night and you kind of shake your head, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And I hear it all the time. But that's how it works.
Thank you so much for coming to our studios, and thank you for giving us the raw truth. I'm not going to say I'm happy about what I'm hearing, but at least this is where we are at, and maybe we could work towards going where we need to go.
Well, like I say, we just need people to step up. And I made a comment when we talked about the Tremont nail stuff. We need to think with this, and unfortunately less with that, because when you make decisions based on the heart, it's usually not a good decision for stability long term. Absolutely. And I won't get into Tremont nail, but Tremont nail was bought that way, and that's why the mess we have today.
Your wife is not going to be happy with you.
Not supposed to be.
All right. Well, to my viewers, thank you so much for joining us in another episode of The Official Report, filmed right here at the WCTV studio with my guest, our own selectman, Slavin, here to talk about 40B housing. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye.